For 30 years, Chuck D warned America about government surveillance, corporate control, and the silencing of black political voices. Most people dismissed it, but declassified FBI files tell a different story. The Bureau tracked Public Enemy's lyrics, monitored their associates, and treated a rap group as a political threat. Chuck D wasn't paranoid, he was a target. And what that cost him, his group, and everything they built has never been fully told. The Bureau handled the rap group as a political threat rather than ordinary entertainment. In 1989, federal agents officially opened an investigative file on Public Enemy, classifying the group as a potential national security threat. Surveillance quickly expanded. FBI offices began monitoring concert flyers, compiling public statements, and tracking the daily activities of the group's associates. The primary triggers were lyrics confronting police brutality, government corruption, and black liberation. In October 1989, the FBI sent a warning letter to Priority Records while also targeting Def Jam with direct pressure regarding the group's message. Analysts flagged the music as potentially incendiary, claiming it could incite civil disorder. At the time, mainstream commentators dismissed Chuck D's complaints of government harassment as self-important paranoia. Yet, the declassified dossiers reveal a highly coordinated effort to keep Carlton Ridenhour under active investigation. Chuck D later described this period as living under a microscope, watching the state employ classic counterintelligence tactics to quietly disrupt their platform before their message could capture the mainstream. In 1989, Spike Lee commissioned Fight the Power for his film Do the Right Thing, creating a defining political record of the era. But by 1991, the group tested the limits of mainstream tolerance. After Arizona officials rejected a state holiday honoring Martin Luther King Jr., Public Enemy released By the Time I Get to Arizona. The video depicted the fictional assassination of the state officials responsible for the refusal. The reaction was swift. MTV banned the video after a single broadcast, and major radio stations refused to play the track. Chuck D recognized this as a quieter, highly effective form of censorship. He argued that the real punishment was suppression through access and distribution control, a system where corporate gatekeepers neutralize political dissent by cutting off the feed. To Chuck D, the state's attention was never an isolated incident, but the extension of a classic American blueprint. He connected Public Enemy's experience directly to COINTELPRO, the federal counterintelligence program that once targeted Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and the Black Panthers. Throughout the 90s, mainstream commentators dismissed these warnings of systematic state surveillance as mere conspiracy theories. But the 2013 Edward Snowden revelations proved that mass surveillance infrastructure, like PRISM, operated at a scale even the most paranoid artists could barely imagine. The system Chuck D warned about was entirely real. On May 22, 1989, the Washington Times published an interview with Public Enemy's Minister of Information, Professor Griff. In the article, Richard Dwayne Griffin declared that Jews were responsible for the majority of the wickedness in the world, adding that they had a history of killing black men. The public backlash was immediate and catastrophic. The Anti-Defamation League issued formal condemnations, and concert venues in Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. abruptly canceled scheduled tour dates. On June 21, 1989, Chuck D held a press conference to announce Griffin's dismissal and the temporary disbanding of Public Enemy. Though the group reformed within weeks and Griffin eventually returned in 1991 as a non-musical advisor, the structural damage was done. Opponents of the group's message quickly weaponized the scandal. Critics and record executives used the anti-Semitic outburst to discredit Public Enemy's broader critique of systemic racism. Chuck D was forced into years of defensive damage control, attempting to salvage the group's political legitimacy while navigating a permanent ideological fracture that threatened their platform from within. William Drayton, known as Flavor Flav, was Chuck D's hype man, best friend, and the indispensable comic counterweight to Public Enemy's militant gravity. Behind the scenes, however, Drayton was fighting a severe crack cocaine addiction, spending up to $2,800 a day during the group's peak years. In 1991, he pleaded guilty to domestic assault, serving 30 days in jail and losing custody of his children. A string of domestic violence arrests and drug charges followed over the next 2 decades. While Chuck D stood by his friend publicly, he privately absorbed the strain of Drayton's chaotic life. The contradiction peaked in 2006 when Drayton signed on to star in VH1's reality dating show, Flavor of Love. The hyper-commercialized spectacle stood as the polar opposite of Public Enemy's radical, anti-system message. Chuck D later described the television era as deeply painful, watching the group's revolutionary hype man transform into a caricature. On February 28, 2020, decades of unresolved tension erupted into a public break. Flavor Flav's attorney sent a cease and desist letter to Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign demanding the removal of Public Enemy's name from an upcoming Los Angeles rally. Chuck D and Public Enemy Radio performed at the event anyway on March 1st. The following day, Chuck D announced that the group was officially moving forward without Flavor Flav, citing a long-standing pattern of disputes over benefit shows and stating Flav had been on suspension since 2016. Flav immediately fired back on Twitter, asserting his status as an equal partner rather than an employee, and accused Chuck D of betrayal. After surviving years of FBI surveillance, corporate gatekeeping, and external scandals, the most politically threatening act in hip-hop history fractured over a campaign endorsement and 30 years of accumulated internal damage. During the 1990s, Chuck D warned that major record labels were deliberately steering hip-hop away from political rebellion. He argued that corporate cash incentivized materialism, cars, and violence because these themes were commercially profitable and politically harmless. It was a deliberate strategy of containment. Billboard chart data proved him right. Between 1993 and 1999, politically charged tracks averaged 12% of the rap charts. By 2003, that share plummeted to under 3%, as major labels systematically stripped political acts from their rosters. The corporate-dominated market Chuck D predicted had arrived. The system quietly neutralized radical hip-hop by funding its replacement. In 1998, Chuck D bypassed the industry entirely, uploading a 27-minute MP3 remix of Bring the Noise 2000 to the web, years before Napster, iTunes, or streaming existed. Polygram immediately threatened legal action, forcing the files down. Chuck D warned that the internet would either destroy label control or birth far more powerful, centralized gatekeepers. That prediction anticipated the modern streaming era. Today, algorithms command 70% of streaming distribution. This code-driven curation systematically suppresses politically radical content, prompting Chuck D to call the modern streaming landscape a digital plantation. The technological revolution did not deliver freedom, it merely digitized the gatekeepers. In 1990, Fear of a Black Planet sold 1.3 million copies. By 2002, Public Enemy's release, Revolver Lucian, sold under 50,000 units. No Public Enemy single entered the Hot 100 after 1995. Chuck D watched major labels systematically promote compliant, consumer-friendly rap while pushing politically conscious artists to the margins. His accurate predictions about industry gatekeepers and state surveillance offered no protection from those very forces. Instead, the pressure fractured his own group through internal contradictions he could not resolve, leaving him as the sole survivor of a warning that came true. Today, hip-hop is a multi-billion-dollar corporate asset, largely stripped of its revolutionary teeth. Chuck D's warnings were ignored, and his group fractured under the weight of the fight. Perhaps being right was always the most dangerous position of all. Share your perspective in the comments.